Hey, everybody, my name is Keion Henderson. I give leadership to the LightHouse Church, and this is different for us. We normally come to you on Sundays and Tuesdays, but through the COVID-19 and the pandemic, we're forced to be creative on how we come to you, and I thought it would be extraordinary to put together an assembly of exquisite minds that will be able to bring you information other than that of the Spirit. You know, it is important that you stay spiritual, and it is important that you pray, and it is important that you fast and you seek God. But let me tell you, I was looking at Instagram the other day, and I saw a lady who came right in front of her phone, and she said, "Let us pray." She said, "Lord, I am a child of God. What I am not is a school teacher." And it got me to my core that I thought that I could bring you some information that may be aside from the Spirit, because you are a whole man and you're not just a Christian having a physical experience. You're also a spiritual person having that experience. And so what I did through the help of our team and some of the staff members here who leverage relationships with people outside of our ministry is we have put together an amalgam of teachers and principals to come and show you how to deal with that child that you are used to being out of the house 8 hours a day. I know this is a shocker. I know that when you had that baby, your little bundle of joy, you wanted them to stay home, but they got around 6 or 7. Now they keep the refrigerator door open all day as if what's in there is going to change. They're eating up everything because it's there. And now you're saying, "Lord, when is the school going to open back up so I can send these kids back?" And let me tell you, I'm an advocate for teachers because teaching is a hard job. You know your children, and you know how sometimes they can be, but they're ours. And so what I've done, to the best of my ability, is put a group together that will help you to deal with them and what to do with them when you're tired of them and how to help them with math problems you don't understand. Isn't it true that you don't add the way they add and you don't multiply the way they multiply, and the only way you know how to teach them is the way you were taught, and then they get to school and the teacher says it's wrong because they went about the wrong process? This stage is full of people who will show you how to do it. So I'm going to introduce my panel to you today, and these people are extraordinary. I've had a conversation with them before we came on today, and they are geared up, ready to go, and they've come out and risked themselves. We're social distancing, as you can see, but they've risked themselves to help you and your children. And if you see one of these teachers in Walmart or Target, or at a grocery store, I just want you to say a prayer for them and congratulate them and any teacher and any first responder on the job that is being done in our country right now. We have Miss Angela Bland, who is the assistant principal at Fall Creek Elementary, and she also has a great deal of knowledge about how to instruct children who score in the autism spectrum, and we're going to be dealing with that today. We also have Mr. D'Amico Bartley, who is the building principal at Sterling Middle School. We have Mr. Carl Kohler, who is the building principal at Atascocita Middle School. And let me go back and say Ross Sterling, because I know those of y'all who go over there, you want to put that Ross on there, so put that Ross Sterling on there. And then lastly, we have, but not least, Mr. Chad Warner, who is a math teacher at Humboldt Middle School. How are you all doing today?
Good.
You all
Great.
doing good? So that way they can see who Chad is. Chad, raise your hand. All right, that's Mr. Chad. Mr. Bartley, raise your hand. He's at Ross Sterling. I want to make sure that they understand who Miss Angela Bland is, and then also Mr. Carl Kohler. Thank you all so much for being with us. So how has it been? Like, what has the adjustment been like for you guys? You know, the parents have been adjusting, but you're used to being at work every day, and you're used to getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and getting ready to be there and receive the children. How has this change been for you guys? And I'll start with you, Mr. Kohler, and then we'll go down.
I think one of the greatest changes when we got the information during spring break, we had very little time to turn it around, and just educators across the United States just so very proud of the work we did within a matter of days and a week. We've turned from classical, traditional classroom instruction into a fully online virtual classroom, so just the shift is tremendous. I think if the district had asked us to do this in a year, that would have been a monumental time frame to do it, but we did it in a matter of days. So our teachers and our educators, I'm just so very proud. We could probably talk all day about the shift, but I just want to say just so very proud of our educators right now.
You see, I'm going to take this clip and I'm going to replay it over and over because you might not have known. I just wrote a book called The Shift, and it was released on the 24th, and you used the word shift. And plus, you got great hair. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them to replay the shift, the shift, the shift, the shift over. And I will not be paying you any royalties, but I want to thank you so much for using that word so many times. What about you, Ms. Bland? How has it affected you?
I agree with the principal here, but for me, it's that interpersonal type relationship. That is what I'm missing. I'm having the Zooms. I'm planning. We're doing it very quick, like you said. It's been a week turnaround. Just getting with the building principal, myself, or the other assistant principal, and just a key staff working to try to get this bowl going as fast as possible, but just not having that ability to sit in the same room with someone and plan and touch and laugh. That's difficult. It's really difficult. So just trying to wrap my mind around that. That's kind of something I want to talk about with the parents also, how to work together but apart.
And I love that, because that must mean that you love kids. And I think that in order to be a teacher, being smart is definitely a criteria, but just loving them and missing them. And I loved to hear you say that. What about you?
Same here. I echo what Ms. Angela said. The kids are the reason why I'm in education, you know. Wow. So our motto is kids first. So everything we do is kids first. And I told my staff, we did a Zoom meeting. I said, hey, I miss you guys, but I don't miss y'all as much as I miss the kids, you know. Being able to hear the teenagers and 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids, you know, up and down the hallways and me yelling, 29 seconds, let's go get to class, you know. I miss that. So I went to school the other day just to get some items for another teacher, and I'm almost wanting to replay me being in the hallways in between class, you know what I mean? And just, you know, pointing at somebody, boy, put your pants up, or what you got on, you know, just having fun with the kids. I really miss that. So, you know, hopefully we get back in school soon.
Awesome. What about you, Jack?
So for me, I have a bit of a different perspective because I'm still in the classroom. So being in the classroom, you know, sometimes we can get frustrated having so many students, the day-to-day rigmarole, and we could kind of get bogged down. But I've been surprised at how much I miss my children. You know what I mean? So for me, it's been a major adjustment because I love that day-to-day interaction with them. And I miss, and I almost came to tears when I was talking to him, but I didn't want to go viral, so I didn't, because I didn't know who was recording.
I heard the tears, I heard your voice, I heard it coming, and I was like, Lord, hold him, help him. But I feel the same way, like, okay, they call me a pastor, but I'm a teacher. Like, this is my classroom. I have a bigger ratio. I don't have, 20 to 1, that there are several thousand to 1, but I'm a teacher. And I stand in this place and I teach the word of God, and now I'm doing it online, and it's almost like you miss the feedback, right? You know when they got it, and you know when they grasp it, and it's kind of like now you're on the edge, like, did you get it? Do you get, and you have to love what you do in order to miss the absence of it. I want to say very early that all of you all really warmed my heart with the fact that missing those children was a key indicator, because it showed me, and listen, is it true? You can't teach for the check, right? They just don't pay enough, can you? You can't do it for the check. You have to do it for the kids, and it's like I say as a pastor, their advancement is my payment. Do you all feel that same way? So what would you say to the parents who are at home right now? Because let me tell you, these parents ready for these kids to go. They ready for them to get out of the house. Let me tell you, their grocery bills have doubled and tripled, and their paychecks have either disappeared or stayed the same. They're using toilet paper at a rate that you can't find it in the store nowhere at any time. They're drinking all of the bottled water, leaving it half empty. And if you got an old school mama, they making sure that you finish that whole bottle of water. And if you came from a home like ours, you had to write your name on the cup, and that was your cup all day long. What would you say to the parents? Because they are frustrated because they are not accustomed, other than the summertime, of having their children in the house all day long. How did you deal with having them in your classrooms all day long?
Well, what I would say is something that you say all the time that really helps me on a day-to-day basis is to not be weary in well-doing. Just know that what you're doing is it's going to benefit them in the long run. It might get frustrating. You might get agitated. You might want to throw them out the house. But just don't be weary in your well-doing. That would be what I would say.
Because my baby, she's 7. Her sleep pattern is all the way off. She going to bed at 3 and 4 in the morning, and she thinks she's waking up at noon, and I wake her up at the same time because I want to make sure that when the Lord blesses us to send them back out of the house to school, that she's still on a sleeping pattern. What would you say to a parent who's frustrated?
Yeah, I was going to echo that right there. Just keep them on a schedule. Again, I wouldn't be as stringent because I have 3 kids at the house, elementary, middle, and high school.
Wow.
And so we allow them to get a little extra sleep.
Yeah.
But just keep them on a schedule, to make sure that they stay consistent and stay sharp in their mind. And just hold them accountable to the biggest degree that you can. I wouldn't go overboard with it and try to have them do everything at one time, because they do need that opportunity to kind of just breathe a little bit and be able to process what's going on, because it's not the traditional in the classroom with their teacher type of atmosphere.
Ms. Bland, so if I'm at home and the child is blessed with the gift of autism, okay, and this requires a different level of attention, I want you to look in that camera. What would you say to a parent who has been able to make it through the child's autism through the conduit of extra help and specialists? Now they have to sit there and they have to interact with the child all day long on their own without the additional help. What would you say to them?
I would say, first of all, have grace. Give yourself grace, give your child grace, and everybody in the whole situation grace. A lot of times we approach things with high anxiety. You are very nervous. You feel like, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? If you start with grace, and I say that with all sincerity, you have to start by saying, I know I'm not the child's teacher. I'm the mom. Everything that leaves your heart will meet another heart. So you approach it with love, you approach it with grace, and don't be scared to ask for help. Those teachers are still there. We're not there in, person to person, but they're still there. You reach out. Don't be ashamed to say, I need help. What resources I can use. And if that first couple of weeks you don't do anything academic, but just build that child's social and emotional spirit, that's what's most important.
Okay, now you just said something that I want to be able to help the audience with. So you're telling us, because everybody is thinking, and I think this, my child, they use Class Dojo, so I'm going back and forth with the teacher and all that kind of stuff. And just before this finished, they had put her in a reading program so that she can go to the next grade level in reading. And just when she was getting it, it stopped. And I thought, oh my God, overboard in reading. But you just said something. It's like, it's okay not to be heavily skewed in the academic, to teach them other social skills. Is that what I hear you saying? That,
absolutely.
Okay.
Because when you think about it, these students were on spring break and enjoying their families, and all of a sudden they got the news that they won't return with their friends. They won't see that same teacher in front of them. They won't touch those walls. They won't sit at that desk anymore. They won't hear the noise of their lunchroom, their environment. They're not outside at recess anymore. So that's a change for a student. That's a big change. And if we just go into launching this social distancing without slowing down, looking at the social, emotional piece of it, it's like you're spinning your wheels. You're trying to get things going, but the student don't really understand, like, okay, now I'm Zooming everything. I don't really understand it all the time. Now I'm looking at something virtual when I had a teacher that could conference with me face to face. So slowing down to go far. So making sure, are you okay? Do you understand what this is? What can we put in place to make sure that I'm hearing you and you are hearing me? So it's not about how much I can post and how fast I can show the world that my kid is going through all the lessons. I can let the teacher know that we finished everything academically. What are we doing socially and emotionally to make sure I'm stable, you're stable, just to make sure we can approach this academic new way? It's so virtual, it's so new. So I think it's important that we just don't look at how to check boxes, but how to make sure we're just emotionally okay.
That's good. Mr. Kohler, so do you think that, and I guess I didn't contemplate this, it's almost as if I hear Ms. Bland saying the children are actually experiencing trauma that we're not aware of, separation anxiety, this norm that has been interrupted. Do you think that's happening?
Middle schoolers are very social. I mean, they look forward to the opportunity when they finish class, they get to go out in the hallways. They're looking forward to lunch and being in PE before and after school. So they're looking forward to those social opportunities. And one thing that I would tell to parents is that, just like Mr. Bartley said, you want to have structures and routines, but you want to build that schedule with your child. You know what your child is strong at and weak at. Look for opportunities to be successful. So build on those. We're going to do math and science on Monday and Tuesday because you're good at that. So let's build success during the week. But also just build in time with your child. The child says, I need a break every hour just so I can text my friends, I can FaceTime my friends. So build that time in. So I don't think the mantra of all work, then play is good for middle schoolers and high schoolers. You just build a schedule like you work for 2 hours, then you get an hour break to be online. You work for another hour and a half, and then you get to FaceTime your friends. So I think students will have something to look forward to. But I also think it's very important that parents are having to be a parent and a teacher at this time. And I think it's so important that our parents schedule time with their kids to have fun. So instead of a parent saying, you work and I'm going to go work, just sit there and say, you know, when we get all our work done at 4 o'clock, we're going to sit down together, or we're going to play video games together, or we're going to watch a movie together, because if it's constant work, you got to do this, that relationship will be strained a little bit. So build in time for that father, daughter, son, mother time together.
I love that. I think that's awesome. And I hope you guys are listening. I've got my daughter here in the building right now, and I'm going to make sure we watch a movie together. It'll be the 5 Heartbeats, and I hope she understands everything that's in it. Because I get to pick the movie, or is it? Annie and the Heartbeat. So we'll do both. But you said something, Carl, that really snared my attention, because it's all work. And I think that there are 2 lessons the parents need to learn, because we're always trying to figure out what the kids need to learn. But I think that parents need to learn a lesson. Number 1, parents, listen to me. Your kids don't like being around you either, okay? Like you think that, oh my God, I want them to go. They're missing rec time. They're missing the gym. They're missing hanging out with their friends. They're missing getting around their friends and talking about how much they don't like you. So you got to understand that your kids don't like being around you. You're not as cool as you used to be. You don't have as much swag as you think you do. And when you try to talk like them and TikTok like them, you're embarrassing them. So all of the grown people, get off of TikTok, go back to Facebook where you belong, and the world will be a better place. So I think that's the first thing that the parents need to learn. The second thing I think parents need to learn is that the reason why we're struggling with teaching our children is that we should have never stopped being teachers in the first place. It has always been our job to teach our children. It has always been our job to make sure that we reiterate what our children have been learning. It was always our job to go over the homework with the children afterwards and to learn. And I think that what has happened in our school system is that parents have stopped being learners. That we figure that I got my, and this is something that parents say, I got mine, you better go get yours. I got my education. But isn't it true that we all are all students in this thing called life, and that parents should always be teachers? What are your thoughts about that?
It's so amazing you said that, because that's one of our challenges. I am at a Title I school. If you don't know what that is, just Google it. I won't go into the details of a Title I school. But at the end of the day, parent involvement is at the forefront. And so we have amazing parents at Ross Sterling Middle School. We also have parents who work extremely hard, so their schedules don't necessarily allow them to participate in coming to those meetings that we have during the school day, or those phone calls. So for me, it's just a matter of parents knowing that it's very vital, even once we get back into school, that they find a way to reach out to their principal. Because now I'm getting all kind of emails. Mr. Bartlett, what are we doing? What's the work? Where's that? What's going on? And I'm like, man, I've been emailing you for like 2 years. Where you been? You know what I mean? So it's good now that they see the importance of being connected to the school, and that our teachers have been trying to reach you and been trying to reach out to you. And so we were able to bless students with Chromebooks yesterday who didn't have them,
awesome.
Who didn't have technology access. And our district did an amazing job. We deployed at all of our schools those who said they didn't have Chromebooks. Well, we still have about 5 or 6 parents who haven't showed up, and their Chromebook is waiting for them. You know what I mean? So if you see me, you need to come by the school and pick it up. So it's just parent involvement and just making sure that even after this, we find our way to get into the school buildings.
And and I'm gonna take liberty there. What you don't know about me is the first church I ever started. I was 21 years old. I started a church and I named it the Pilgrim Rest Missionary Baptist Church. Do not judge me. I don't want to hear it. It wasn't my fault. It was what I was exposed to at the time. When I got a little better at it, I changed the name of the church from Pilgrim Rest Missionary Baptist Church to New Horizon Church, right? And so we started this trajectory of contemporaryism, and we started to change and all that kind of stuff. So right across the street from the church that I started was a school, okay? So the church that I started with 5 people. My first salary after working there for 2 years was $50 a week. That was when they was able to first pay me. And I remember very vividly getting to the 3rd year, and they did a meeting with me, and they said, Pastor, we're going to be able to raise your salary to $20,000 a year. I thought I made it. I went and bought a Chrysler 300. Again, don't judge me. That was back then. I bought a Chrysler 300. I thought I was getting it. Well, across the street was a school, a middle school. And what I did is I went over to the school and I met with the principal. He was a white guy, and I say that for a particular reason. The school was predominantly African American. The leadership was Caucasian. There was a disconnect from what the experience of the student was and the experience of the leadership. But the principal was smart, and you'll see this in sports, especially in middle school, high school, and college. Whenever there's a Caucasian coach, he always goes and gets an African-American assistant because there is a language that is to be spoken. So the principal of the school hired me to be the parent-teacher coordinator at a Title I school. So here I am. I have never gotten a degree in education. I never went to school to be a teacher, but my skill set and my credentials and degrees allowed me to get the job. So for those who don't know, a Title I school, and I don't know if the rules have changed, but it's a school where at least 80 to 85% of the children are free and reduced lunch. Is that correct? All right, so that's what a Title I school is. It's free and reduced lunch, and that school is determined to be Title I by the income of the constituency. Doesn't mean the kids can't learn, doesn't mean the teachers are any less, doesn't mean the facility is any less. It is an economic situation thereby which the government gives additional funds to that school to shore up the gap, and it particularly takes place because of the taxation decreasing, because the people in those neighborhoods are not paying the amounts of taxes because there are a lot of apartment buildings and there are a lot of things where people don't own homes, and they're not getting the taxes because the schools are typically funded by the taxes. Do I have it? Pretty good? All right. So I was in that Title I school, okay? And I realized the lack of parental involvement in that school. And I want to talk to parents because what makes a school successful is not just the academic prowess of the teacher. I am telling you, what makes a school successful, listen to me, is parental involvement. Whatever your school does not have, if enough of you parents get together, it will happen. If you show up to the PTA meetings, if you show up to the PTO meetings, if you show up to the gatherings that they have and you command change, there will be change. The problem is that we sit back in some of our communities and we allow all of the leadership to do their job and we don't show up. That's why private schools are successful. You can't beat the parents showing up. That's why other schools are successful in other cities, and I can name them. If you go out to Katy, the schools are extraordinary, but so is the parental involved. So from me to you, parents, get involved. Answer the emails. Don't just go to the school when your child is about to be suspended for 5 days. Don't just show up when you think somebody's being racist towards your child. Don't just show up when you feel that your child hasn't gotten a fair shake. Show up when the child is on the dean's list. Show up when the child is getting A's, and also show up when the child is barely making it. Show up when the child is not doing homework at home. You know they got homework and you don't see them doing anything. I am outside of the education system speaking to you on behalf of these teachers and these administrators, telling you that do not just be involved right now while we're isolated, and then when they go back to school, you drop off the map and you're not involved. Stay involved. Stay in the email. Stay on the phone. Your voice matters. It is like a vote. If you want the school to change, if you want brand new books, get together. Make sure that you band together. Come correct. Come respectful. Make sure you stay within the bounds of taste, but you can make a difference. You as a parent, you have a powerful voice. Let me say this as well. Are you guys seeing that the parents are actually communicating well with this tool that they have? So, you're getting the lessons out. Is the engagement piece working? Is the online piece working? Or do we need to do a better job at it?
I feel like it's doing It's been great. It really has. I'm from an elementary school, so it's a little different for me because unlike high school and middle school, you really don't do anything virtually with young children. And now you have kindergartners, you have 5-year-olds that log on every day to see their teachers and get lessons and submit things. So I feel like the principal said earlier, that in a week, we've done amazing things, you know. It's going really well. It's a lot of communication with like you said, parents. They're emailing and they're calling and they're reaching out at great magnitude. I feel like we're doing a really, really good job. If we just take the frustration piece out, that you're like, I want to make it perfect today, because like you said, it's changes. It's parents that are not working at home, that was not working at home. Their incomes that are changed. Sometimes you just have to see, do I have the space for distance learning in my home? Where do we sit where it's quiet? Where do I go to just log on? You know, are we, you know, sharing spaces where it was a space that we probably used to watch TV, now there's kind of like a home office. So you have to just take time with those things, but once they're in place, it's good to go. You know, parents are doing really well with it.
Chad, you're in the classroom. What do you see?
Well, yeah, I think that it's going great. I would think because I'm in middle school in 8th grade, we've already incorporated technology into the classroom, and so the platforms that we use online, they're already comfortable and familiar with it. So I think that helped with the transition. And then I would say, as far as like parents' involvement, which what you were talking about earlier, I think it's absolutely essential. This week I had a one-on-one session, and the parent actually sat in with the child, and I tutored both of them.
Awesome.
It was goosebump experience. It was incredible. So I would just like to encourage parents as well to just stay involved.
Because
it's absolutely essential.
it seems like you can teach your children to love education if they see you loving
Absolutely.
it, right? And see, the three of you all are middle school. You're elementary, so I would think that the online piece has already, Carl, been implemented on your level. But I would think on your level it's a little more difficult because possibly 5th grade and below, there hasn't been any online.
Our fifth grade, I mean, we're a very involved school. Our leadership team, we always push the envelope. We want to make sure that our kids have different exposure. We believe in authentic learning. That's something, we've never been really a pencil paper. That's the only type of learning we liked anyway. So we do have those things in place. But you have now, like I said, kindergarten and 1st grade, they're logging on with parents who are saying, where is this button? What do you mean upload? What do you mean download? I have no clue. You know, I got my little dojo messages saying my child had a great day, but now I'm submitting assignments and I'm going there to look for additional resources. I really feel like once we all back, like you said, back in school and things have now settled down, it's going to be great because we have launched into something that we feared for so long.
Awesome.
We are launching into technology. Students are learning different ways how to express themselves, how to get information, how to give information. It's awesome, and parents are right there. They went from a supporting role to now a primary role as the educator. And I think it's great. I think we're going to come back together as a community and just work together and then have all these plethora of platforms to kind of share information. So I think it's going to be great.
That's awesome. Carl, what are some creative ways that we can talk to and explain this pandemic to the kids?
That's a great question. I think first of all, I don't. Sometimes when you watch the news, there's an element of fear that comes across. So I do think that if you're watching the news, you need to watch the news with your child, and then pause and stop and talk about what you're seeing. I think it's so important that if the news is going to communicate just the number of lost jobs and the amount of fear that's come up, I think it's so very important that we turn our eyes from that mountain of fear and turn it toward the Bible.
Awesome.
It's so important that we're spending time in the Word and talking about our faith and our hope in Jesus Christ. That we will have sufferings and we will have
Preach, Carl.
stresses, right? But those lead to perseverance and they lead to endurance. They lead to hope. So I think it's, if we are going to do just talk about what's going on, I think it's also very important that parents, if they are experiencing fear and if they've lost a job or if they've lost income, I think it's really important that we talk to our young people about that. Because our middle schoolers and upper elementary, they can understand hey, mom and dad are struggling right now, but this is how we're getting through it, because you're teaching your young person when they have experiences that are challenging how they can get through it too. So for a parent to just say, y'all just go over there, I can't talk about you right now, just mom's really upset. That's fine, some space, but then come back and say, this is why mom or dad are upset, and this is how as a family we're going to get through it.
I think you've just released something that can grow all of our faith and all of our expectations. Number one, when I heard you talk about your faith in Jesus Christ, the first thing that came to my mind was there's supposed to be a separation of church and state, but there can never be a separation between the church and the spirit. And that when a God-fearing man like you is in the classroom, even though you don't have your Bible open and you're not reading scriptures, there is something coming from your spirit that emanates in that classroom and still fills that classroom with the Holy Spirit. I thank God for what I just heard come out of your spirit, what I just heard come out of your mouth. The other thing that I think that it teaches us parents, and I want to talk directly to you, he said something that even challenged me at this moment. And that is, we as parents, we have a tendency to think that when we go through things, that it's best that our children not witness it. That it's just, you go over there, we're going to deal with this, we're going to deal with that, and then when we come out of it, we'll explain to you what just happened. But I think I just heard Carl say it, and maybe Mr. Bartley, you can chime in on the importance of taking our children along the journey. You've got kids in all different brackets, and so you can speak to communication styles on all sides, that it's important that we bring our children through our trauma with us.
No doubt about it. It's pretty funny. Just in my personal life, my wife is also an educator as well. And so I just shared on Facebook that my wife and I had a little dispute. You know, we had an argument in front of our kids. And I went online. I said, hey, guys, I want you to know that when you have a dispute in front of your kids, I think it's healthy as long as they see you be able to reunite and rekindle. And so I got to the mall after we had a little dispute. My son said, Daddy, you and Mommy okay? And I was like, yeah, we good. I said, don't you and your brother and sister argue all the time? He said, yeah. He said, nah, I see where we get it from. Yeah. So it was pretty funny to see that. But again, what Mr. Coler said, I think it's important for them to be able to see us as human beings. You know, at the end of the day, I grew up with a single mother, so I didn't get to see that interaction. You know what I mean? So I had a stepdad, but it wasn't the same. So it got me to go to education. I said, I want to be a father to the fatherless. That's what God told me. He said, you're going to be a father to the fatherless and really be a parent. And I had kids say, can I call you dad? I said, no, but you can call me uncle. You know what I mean? I can't be your daddy. There's some confusion going on.
Yeah, and then they be asking me for money. No,
absolutely right.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just, I think it's good, back to what he said, just to make sure that we are transparent as parents,
awesome.
to let our kids know that we are human.
Man, that's a perfect answer. Anybody else want to add to that? Because like it just hit me. It just hit me when you said, you know, mom and dad are struggling, and this is why, right? And so I grew up in the era, what goes on in this house stays in this house, and whenever kids came around adults, the kids had to excuse themselves because they couldn't be a part of adult conversations. I even remember growing up where we had two different sets of everything. The good ice cream was for the parents, the 99-cent ice cream was for the kids. Anything good kids couldn't have. If it was Fiji water, that was grown folks. You drink tap water. That's how that goes. And so there was this separation, and I don't think they meant anything by it. They were raised by parents who were baby boomers, right? And they were in steel factories, and everything was, you know, order, and the woman was subservient, and the man was dominant, and all of that kind of stuff, and that stuff meshes. And here we are in 2020. And things have changed. The world has changed. As you said, everything has shifted. And I think that it is worthy of giving a few more moments to the idea that our children understand more than they can articulate, that they are fully aware of what is happening, and you get a chance to shape the narrative if you'll communicate with them, as opposed to allowing the idle mind to be the devil's workshop. Is there anybody else want to give any sentiments?
This is a little personal. My husband, who's in the science field, his employment abruptly changed in January, and it was different for my family. So we had to come together, and I have a high schooler, I have a senior in Humble ISD right now, which is like, that's a whole nother conversation, and a freshman. And we had to come together as a family and talk about the changes economically that would affect in our household, but still support dad, support my husband, to make sure that we're still a family. Money, things, position don't define who we are as the Blands. And then going forward, I still had to get together with my of my children and say, I'm struggling because I'm an administrator and I want to support these parents, I want to support the teachers, I want to make sure these babies see me on Zoom, but guess what? I have to set this up now for my senior and son at home also. So we had to come together as a family and say, okay, I'm not being the best teacher at home myself because getting my son who's used to being a basketball player and having the practices and the social things, and now he's dribbling the ball in the driveway alone, or a daughter who's going through her senior year without having prom and planning for graduation,
Wow.
Things like that, just coming from a college visit and now can't get to go to the other two. So just coming together as a family saying, we don't have it always together. It's not always right. It's not always perfect. But we have love, we have patience, and we're going to make it through it.
I hadn't thought about that. No prom,
Yeah.
no, what else they got? No graduation.
It's a lot that's still up in the air that you don't want to, plan for exactly because you don't know how that's going to look. So,
Wow.
you know what? But
Well, you said something about the Zoom. And just look, sidebar. Can we talk about Zoom etiquette? I mean, how are the people coming on the computers? Are they coming with the bonnets and the rollers? I mean, or how was it? Because you know what I imagine? My mind is crazy. I imagine that everybody on Zoom has no bottoms on. I just imagine everybody just get dressed up at the top and just has nothing on at the bottom. What's Zoom etiquette? What would you say, whether it's dress or communication? Is there such thing as Zoom etiquette?
It's definitely. We see the memes out here where
Why are you laughing?
we've had a few experiences.
Keep your hands out of your face. You know that's one of the ways you can get to stop rubbing your eyes and speak to the people and help them.
We've had a few experiences personally where staff members have come on to Zoom with bonnets, do-rags.
The devil is alive.
But there is definitely a such thing as professionalism. And I'm not saying get up and put on a collar shirt, but at least brush your teeth.
Yeah.
We can tell if you wash your face.
Wow.
You know what I mean? The little things are essential to Zoom. Absolutely.
I think from the kids' perspective, the mute button is huge. So not knowing, like my baby girl, she's in 3rd grade and she had her first Zoom meeting. My wife was talking about that, and all the kids were just so excited. So just making sure the parents know there is a mute button that you can hit, as you enter the.
So we don't have to hear all that stuff in the background and all that.
Hear your mama screaming at you. Boss, pick that up. You gotta hit the mute. So just hit the mute button.
Yeah. So the mute button is that microphone, and they just hit it. Right? So
Real simple.
Real simple. So exercise the mute, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody else etiquette?
I mean, Kinder is something. Kinder Zooms are they're entertaining. So that's, just giving them a chance to get all the hellos and hey, and putting their hamsters and the little, lizards and all that stuff in the camera. Giving them a chance to do that and then muting everybody. Just like calming down. And maybe parents kind of in the background and you making sure that we're not watching a ceiling fan for 30 minutes. Things like that. So, as a parent, just looking out for little things like that.
I don't think Carl wants to say anything. Do you want to say anything, Carl?
I was going to say, we learned within the first couple of days what settings we need to put in Zoom to protect ourselves from inappropriate content or words coming in. So we've learned a lot.
So we've learned a lot says a whole lot. Basically, what they're saying is get yourself together and make sure that you got your house in order before you turn this camera on, because we can see everything. And you understand that camera lens has a wide shot. So you thinking it's just you in that camera, they can see everything to the left and everything to the right. And they can see your nephew over there with a diaper on that ain't got no shoes on. Make sure that the whole house is in order so that way you can at least pretend like y'all family got it together. Because you do not want these people to know all of your business. So learn some Zoom etiquette. We're going to wrap it up, but I just feel like what we're up here to do is to balance the expectations of this new norm. Like, I believe it's never going to be the way we thought it was. It can't be. Why would we make such extraordinary changes to go back to doing things the way we did them? Education, entertainment. I mean, even entertainment. You remember DJ Nice, every hour, he's starting over on Instagram Live. I mean, you've got people doing, Anthony Hamilton had a concert online, and Kurt Franklin had one online, and it's just, amazing the creativity that people, now I think some people overdoing it. Like, I'm tired of everybody trying to be an entertainer and trying to get famous, and you cannot sing, so stop. You know,
Please,
just
Jesus,
please. You know, that I remember Jermaine Dolly said everybody did that. He's got the whole world in his hand challenge, and he came on and said, okay, his hands are full. Okay, nobody else put anything else in his hands. So I think all of that is amazing, but I think that we have to understand that this is our new norm, and that we actually were thrusted and forced to do something that should have been done anyway. We should have did this during Harvey. For those of us who live in Houston, we know we lost several schools during that time. And what we did is we put one school inside of another school, and perhaps learning this way would have been a better approach at that time. Only history will tell. As we wrap up, I want both of you, all of you all, I should say, to say something to a parent, teacher, parent, and all of you all are at least one, a parent or at least a teacher. I want you to say something encouraging to them, because the truth is that America's level of poverty is being exposed in this moment. That there were already people who didn't have enough to feed their children, and now it's even worse. Some of the odd jobs that people used to do, like hair and nails, to be able to pick up the tab, they can't do that anymore. People are struggling, and not just that which can be documented. There is a level of struggle that is not seen. You're a teacher, you're a parent. I want you to look into the camera, and I want you to just, from your heart, say something to somebody who has a child at home who's just like you, anything encouraging that could come to your spirit that you can leave with people who will see this over and over again, whether it's somebody who can be an uncle, whether it's somebody who can deal with children with autism, whether it's a man who has faith and brings it to the classroom and has great morals, values, and character, or whether it's a young man who says, I'm in the classroom and I just remember not too long ago being in the classroom myself and having to make these transitions. What would you say to that person who's watching you? I'll start with you, Chad.
I would like to go back to something Ms. Bland said. Just knowing that you're not alone. Don't be scared to ask for help. We're here. I'm yearning for somebody to reach out to me. Like I was saying earlier, I had a live session with a child and a parent. I will tutor you, and the child don't even have to know. So I would say just reach out to somebody. Don't be scared to ask for help. We're here. We're alone together.
I would say just continue to be strong for your kids. You know, again, there's going to be some challenging times. I understand that. But just be strong. Be strong for your kids. They are watching you. You are their role models. They look up to you. You have everything that you need to be successful for your kids. So I wouldn't think about anything that I'm lacking. I wouldn't even think about the failures you may have had in the past in your own school life. Think about the right now. You have resources. You have help. So reach out to the schools. Contact those principals, those teachers, those counselors, those assistant principals, and get everything you need for your child.
I would say same thing. You're not alone. You know, love is always right. Love is never wrong. So long as you're loving your child, as long as you're loving yourself, and making sure that you're trying every day is a new day, every day is a fresh day. Forget about the mistakes, like Mr. Bartley said, and just reach out for help. Love is never wrong. So just do it with fun, do it with grace. Don't worry about making mistakes. Don't worry about, how many times that I have to ask for help. It's okay. Just love and enjoy this moment because it's for a purpose.
Well, Pastor Henderson, the Spirit's moving because everything they said is what I was thinking about saying, that I've heard parents say that they feel like a failure. And same thing, I just want to say, parents, you are not alone. And as I was thinking, I always tell my kids at school, the greatest thing in this world is love. Love conquers all. Just love your kids. The most important thing in this time, when the kids look back on this time, they are not going to remember the math and the science that you've tried to force down their throat. They're going to remember the conversations you had with them about the pandemic. They're going to remember how you encouraged them and loved them through this process. You hugged them, that you laughed with them. So you do the very best you can, as Ms. Bland said. You partner with the school. Let the school know, this is where I, the parent, need help. If you've cased it with the word I, saying, I really need help with this. I need help to present that, then the school will respond to support you. So love your kids and allow us to work with you as partners.
Chad, D'Amico, Carl, Miss Bland, you guys have been amazing. And I can't think of any other place I would have rather been today than with you. You have blessed all of our hearts, and you have come out of your homes to risk your safety to ensure their success. And that is what teachers do every day of the year. And I want to say thank you. I pray that God would give you a double portion of grace, as you stated earlier, and mercy for your tireless efforts. I pray that he would satisfy each and every one of you with long life. And I pray that whatever career aspirations that you have, that you will be granted. And if you are right where you want to be, I pray that you will be able to do that as long as you desire to. Thank you so much. I would like to say to all of you something that I read in the Bible. And as it relates to this moment, the Bible says, Jesus says, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. Truly I tell you, anyone who will not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never enter it." And he, listen, took the children in his arms, placed his hands on them, and blessed them. While you're teaching your children math, and while you're contemplating science and chemistry, and while you're teaching them to read, do me a favor. Don't forget to take your children in your arms and lay your hands on them and bless them. Till the next time, I'm Pastor Henderson. This is the LightHouse Church. Thank God for this panel, but most of all, thank God for you.